Gillian Claus is somebody that I became familiar with when I became aware of Sunday Assembly. And I'm going to let her tell you all about Sunday Assembly and what that is. But when you're on a listserv with people, and over a course of years, you hear people communicating back and forth about something they believe in, you get a sense of who the person is and what they're like. And so I already had very fond feelings of Gillian before I came to this area. But I was very excited when I was moving to the Silicon Valley area that I would finally get to meet this Gillian person who just was so wonderful and marvelous. A couple of things about Gillian. She went to school at the University of London and at UC Santa Cruz. Her degrees were in theater arts with a specialization in acting and directing. She's a wife, and she's a mother of a 16-year-old son. And she also happens to be on the International Board of Directors of Sunday Assembly. And I think what was most meaningful to me, so if I just may, having been around Sunday Assembly both in San Diego and then for my year in London with where they started Sunday Assembly, I have an idea of how much is involved in creating that. And I know that Gillian works very hard to provide secular community, the Sunday Assemblies for people in our area. And they have a slightly different emphasis than we do, and I think it's an important one. One thing I know from my years around humanist community is that people crave certain kinds of interpersonal interactions with people, and they have certain things at Sunday Assembly that you just can't have anywhere else. The other thing I want to say about Gillian is I arrived here a stranger in a strange land, and no one was more welcoming or more available to be my friend than Gillian. And that means a lot to me. So, Gillian, please come on up. Please welcome Gillian.
I think I switched it on. Okay, I switched it on. Thank you, Deb. Hi, everybody. Have you ever heard of Sunday Assembly?
Oh, yes.
Yes? And any of you ever been? I know. Oh, okay, great. Well, so I titled this talk, What the Heck is Sunday Assembly? But the first question I think I need to answer is, why is there a Sunday Assembly? Don't people who don't believe in things, do they need a reason to get together, and do they have to get up early on Sunday morning, or could we all just stay in bed? But you guys get up early anyway for your forum. So I think if you can give me the next few minutes, I'd like to convince you why we non-believers do need to have our own secular congregation. So, my name is Gillian, and I was born in the UK, and that is me and my mother in the summer of love. But my parents weren't hippies, okay? They were teachers, scientists, they were professors, all the way back to my great-great-grandfather, who was a humanist. He was a human rights pioneer. He was a founder of the Individualist paper, which is the Personal Rights Association. So they were very academic family, and they valued reason and ethics over dogma. They weren't much for sentimentality, so kind of typical Brits. But this did let us down a bit in a practical sense. When my grandfather died, he left our family very strict instructions. He said, no memorial, no grave, no gathering, don't want the ashes to go anywhere special. So that left my grandmother in kind of a weird place. She didn't have any closure. She couldn't do anything with her friends. It left her feeling very awkward. And so I saw that piece was missing. Like many people in Britain, we didn't attend church, my family. We didn't believe in God. It was just assumed that we would help people who needed help, and we would try to treat people as well or better as we ourselves would like to be treated. But when we moved to America, my parents thought that we would get comparative religious education in school. They just assumed that. But that was brought home the first time we went to a wedding, and we were supposed to say the Lord's Prayer, and my siblings and I didn't know the Lord's Prayer, because why would we know the Lord's Prayer? So my parents were confused. We were in the U.S. trying to find a community, and we thought, well, how does this place work? What even is Thanksgiving? So we had English friends, so we just had an extra English Christmas dinner on Thanksgiving. We had a lot of celebrations. So one New Year's Eve went so well that the party lasted into the next morning. We had a lot of food left over, so we just put it in the car and we drove it to the beach. And it was really cold at the beach, so we put a few of the ingredients together and we made a big pot of crab soup. And we watched the sunset and we sang songs around the fire pit. And we have now been doing this ritual every January 1st for 45 years. And 20 years ago, I put my mother's ashes into that sea, and I put the box on that fire pit. So it became very important to me. I lost my parents early, and when my dad died, he was remarried, and he was estranged from the family to such an extent that I actually had to call the coroner to find out if he had really gone, and I had to call my grandparents in England and let them know that their son was gone. And how do you do that? That's a terrible thing to have to do. So I went to England and we thought of a ritual that we could do together, and we all shoveled earth into a tree. We planted a tree, simple, but it helped. You know, we made up some words and it helped us through a tough time that we didn't really have a plan for how to do, not being attached to any kind of church. So I realized that we and I needed ways to cope with changes in life. I needed a way to mark the passing of time, passing of your loved ones, and mark the changes, and also just a way to celebrate being alive. So for me, this started in February 2013 when I read this Guardian article about an atheist service in London, which happened to be happening right opposite a huge Baptist church service. So, and this was in a deconsecrated church in February 2013. I saw the BBC News report about it, about all these non-believers coming to a deconsecrated church, and I thought, intriguing. I read more about it, and hundreds of people turned up for this service without religion. The founders were these two people here, which is Pippa Evans and Sanderson Jones, and they are a couple of British comedians. They had been driving home from a gig that they were doing, and they were both talking about, Pippa had just got married, and they sang When I'm 64 at her wedding instead of a hymn, and she said, oh, that was great. Everybody sang. It was wonderful. And Sanderson said, yeah, I liked going to midnight candle-lit services at Christmas time. That's a really special feeling. I enjoy that with the singing together and the candles and the... But they both said, we'd like to have that, but without God. Is that possible? And so there it was, the germs of the starting of Sunday Assembly. So they both wondered if that could in fact be possible, and apparently it was, because everybody showed up. So I thought, well, here it is. Perfect combination of, we've got science and comedy happening at the same time. We've got ritual and music. These are all things I love. I love the sound of this concept. Communions doing a church without God. So I sent an email to them, weirdly. I don't usually email people that I read about in the newspaper, but I did send them an email. And I wasn't the only one. The idea went viral, and people around the world started reaching out to Pippa and Sanderson about wanting an assembly in their town. These are some people in LA, and actually that's Ian Dodd, who's on the board now of the American Humanist Association. Their services were filling up, and they had to expand into a bigger venue. So they thought, well, this is going viral, what do we do? They thought they would try a tour of the US to try and the world to try and get more interest. So they gave us all a kind of challenge. If you're interested, put together an Eventbrite, and let's see how many votes you can get. And that would determine which region they came to with this tour that they called the 40 Days and 40 Nights tour. So as Debbie will know, because they went to San Diego too, and she was instrumental over there, and they came here, we put together our first one on November 11th, 2013, which was a Monday, not a Sunday. It was a holiday, but we still got close to 200 people at the theater on the square in downtown San Jose. And we got a speaker from Pixar, who's now on our board, and Sanderson came and hosted the service. But we didn't know how it would work. we thought, well, do we need security? Are people going to protest about this? How are people going to feel about non-religious church? But we didn't have any of those problems, other than we didn't have enough cookies or tea. But it went really smoothly, and our first song was, in fact, I'm a Believer, played on a harp. Which we thought was really funny to sing I'm a Believer. And I guess so you could argue since that day I am now a believer because I've become a humanist celebrant. I like to celebrate marriages and funerals. I'm on the International Board of Sunday Assembly, and I've been president of our Sunday Assembly since February 2014. And we're approaching our 4th birthday this November. We moved from the Women's Club. I don't know if you remember, we used to be at the Women's Club in downtown San Jose, and we're now, this is the Women's Club. And we now are in downtown Mountain View in a very nice location, easier to reach for more of the peninsula, and you can get there by light rail and bus. It's actually behind the Center for the Performing Arts and next to the library. This is a Masonic lodge. So we've had a fantastic lineup of guest speakers over the past 4 years. We've had Seth Shostak from SETI, Dr. Jim Doty. We had Lynn Rothschild talking about astrobiology, life on Mars, and we've done LGBT acceptance, and on Darwin Day we did a Valentine's for Darwin Day. So we can have a lot of fun with a lot of different topics, and we try and mix the head and the heart. But what exactly is Sunday Assembly? Well, not a cult. Although that is just what I would say if it was a cult, isn't it? But my answer for that is, if it was a cult, somebody would be getting rich. Nobody is getting rich. So this is one way you can explain Sunday Assembly. Sunday Assembly is to congregation the way mindfulness is to meditation. So if you take meditation, take away the supernatural, add science, you get mindfulness. For us, take a congregation, take away the supernatural, add science, but also add pop songs, you get Sunday Assembly. It is a celebration of life. And our motto is, live better, help often, and wonder more. And our vision is a world where everybody can live life as fully as possible. Our assembly format is a 60-minute event, which is hosted by 1 or 2 MCs. We sing pop songs, we hear stories from the community, we have a guest speaker with a short talk, and we also take a few minutes for quiet reflection, which is usually the part that spooks the people the most, the quiet part. And we provide childcare for families. And we have a really nice charter. I didn't make a slide of it, but I would like to tell you about our charter. We're not here to tell you how to live your life. We're here to help you be the best version of you that you can be. Sunday Assembly is 100% celebration of life. We are born from nothing and we go to nothing, so let's enjoy it together. We have no doctrine, we have no set text, so we can make use of wisdom from all sources. We have no deity. We don't do supernatural, but we won't tell you you're wrong if you do. We're radically inclusive. Everyone is welcome, regardless of their beliefs. It is a place of love that is open and accepting. It's free to attend, not for profit, and volunteer run, although we do ask for donations to cover costs and support our community work. We have a community mission, so we have a community action team that will be a force for good. We're independent. We don't take sponsorship or promote outside businesses, organizations, or services. We hope we are here to stay, and we'll make the world a better place. We won't tell you how to live, but we'll try to help you do it as well as you can. And then remember the point number 1, the Sunday Assembly is a celebration of life, the one life we know we have. So I gave you my road to Damascus, but there are many other reasons for people to come together in a congregational community. And we think one of the problems is that we live in a world divided. We are trying to deal with mental ill health, social isolation, losing my tongue, and declining well-being. For us, loneliness is a number 1 problem that we're trying to address. We have a life course touring right now to try and help people better themselves as well. These are just citations for some evidence I have of loneliness actually killing us. In 2015, Psychology Today, Michael Price explored the value of secular community. He cited studies in which religious people tend to live healthier and longer lives. And the best explanation scientists have found for this relationship is that organized religion provides people with supportive communities. Loneliness affects health. It has been associated with heightened blood pressure, weakened immune systems, increased depression, and other unhealthy outcomes. In fact, it can be as dangerous as obesity, smoking, or substance abuse. And as religiosity has been decreasing, loneliness has been increasing. Data on loneliness is not being collected as systematically as religiosity, but in countries like the US and the UK, people are lonelier than they have ever been before. And apparently, younger people are experiencing it even more than older people. Despite how many friends we have on Facebook, we're really not we're not that close to people. In our own assembly, we had a member who was dealing with a mental health crisis because of the loss of a child. And we didn't have staff trained to deal with that, but we did work with a Humanist chaplain to try and help that person through and refer them. And they're still here today, which is fantastic. We also offer a monthly compassionate listening group, which is a safe listening space for many people who don't get heard at all during the day. We also note the significant events in the life of our members. We share those a little bit like, here are some of our members. We reach out with their anniversary, job loss, health issues, and then we put all of those things, a little bit like Prairie Home Companion, we put it all into a jar, we keep it till the end of the year, then we have a little ritual where we take everything out at the end of the year and we see everything that's happened, the good and the bad. Which is very positive. My second point would be singing, which is a lot of people don't want to sing together, but at Sunday Assembly we do, because singing is good for you. Also it's fun, but recent studies have documented 4 benefits of singing. It's good for your respiratory health, it's good for people with asthma, includes improving breathing, reducing stress, improving your immunity. For dementia, it can help with cognition. Sometimes you can tune into people you can't tune in any other way but through music, and with social connection. Here's our guitarist. Also, Cassandra Shepard in The Neuroscience of Singing stated that when we sing, our neurotransmitters connect in new and different ways. Firing up the right temporal lobe of our brain releases endorphins that make us smarter, healthier, happier, and more creative. And when we sing with other people, the effect is amplified. So you should try it. It's not that bad. Another point would be, this is just a slide with some more of us who are here. Would be that I think that we need a place to share and promote our values, and I think we share our values with the humanist community. Parents want to raise their children in a place where they learn an ethical, reasonable approach to the world around them, a world where everyone gets to live a life as fully as possible. And I think we need to unite around that positive worldview rather than what we don't believe in. In fact, Breitbart has us beat on this one. Many of the messages of social media are negative, based on fear and hatred rather than love and tolerance. So I say, why can't we come together and practice what we preach to? We have young families joining Sunday Assembly, so we're starting to build that framework for their childcare and a curriculum. But it's kind of a chicken and an egg about how many children you have and how many teachers you hire, and we're working on that one. The challenges for our future at Sunday Assembly, I would say, well, first of all, in our future, the idea exploded for Sunday Assembly into 70 cities around the world, just like that. Like when I saw the Guardian article, boom, we were leaping forward before we ever even took a baby step. So if you think of a church model, even a very tiny parish, they have a paid staff member, even a small church. And we don't have anything. Sunday Assembly's been doing this with a 100% volunteer model until very recently. In the last 2 years, 4 assemblies have managed to hire part-time community organizer. 3 of them are in London, 1 in Manchester, in Los Angeles, and now I just hired a community organizer here on a part-time basis. So that's making a big difference, and I hope that we will continue to find the funds to keep that person on and expand what we can do. As Debbie mentioned, I'm on the international board, which is headquartered in London. And we look for ways to fund the model and scale our volunteer organization into a fully fledged secular network. But when they had this idea in the car, they didn't have a plan for how they were going to pay for it. And everybody wanted it, but how does it work? And as we, just like a church, we pass the hat, we collect money, and we have monthly donors. We have enough monthly donors to pay for our regular services, but we want to be able to expand, of course. So by adopting that congregational community model, Sunday Assembly is tapping into people's most fundamental desires and needs, which I think is evident from our ability to leverage a huge amount of action from participant beneficiaries, like all of our huge hundreds of volunteers. I did put in, how can you help? And the way I would ask for your help is if you like the sound of Sunday Assembly, you can come and give it a try. Or you can tell people who have young children or aging parents or people that are looking for a community. You can come to one of our beer tastings or pub night. And we're looking for, of course, we're looking for donors and angel investors too, which are the only kind of angels that we usually talk about. But, you know, just in case Mark Zuckerberg is listening or anything. And we've developed, our next assembly, I brought a little flyer which I will put up here, but we're going to talk about the end of life, which we're going to do 2 back-to-back. And one of them is Flirting with Death, or It's a Wonderful Life. And we're going to talk about end-of-life planning. We've got advanced directives for people there, but we've also got the Threshold Choir coming out, which I don't know if you guys have heard about them, but they sing at people's bedsides in hospice. It's an amazing group. So they're going to come and sing. And we're basically going to talk in a positive way about end of life and end of life planning. And then in November we will be doing a remembrance, more like a Day of the Dead assembly, where people will be bringing photos and images of people that they have lost. I also wanted to tell you one more personal story before I stop. My cousin Jim, he lives up in the north of England, and just when I found out about Sunday Assembly, he had been married for 60 years and he was widowed. And he called me up and said, "Oh, I joined my church. I joined my local church." And I said, "Why on earth did you do that, Jim? You're not a believer." And he said, "Well, they call me up every week to see if I'm dead." They check if I'm still alive. And I thought, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do for our own people. We need to check in on them. We need to bring them a casserole or listen or have a group and a place to talk to them. And I'm really hoping that that's what I can bring into Sunday Assembly. You know, make a casserole, listen to someone when they're lonely, provide that place to celebrate life, to birth and marriages and mourn the dead, and remember our loved ones every year. A place to live better, help often, and wonder more, and even to sing Neil Diamond. Which I did bring a song, you know. I don't know if you guys are willing to sing after I told you it's good for you.
Hey, go for it.
Okay. Okay, well, let's sing a song. I think, oh, and here's a bunch of people from Sunday Assembly. We meet on Mondays for our compassionate listening group and definitely celebrate life. So let's sing a song. You gonna do it? You gonna sing with me, Deb?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, come on, work. It's Sweet Caroline, which is the most...
What if you can't sing a note?
That doesn't matter. Oh, no, it's got music on. You can't do that, can you?
What if you don't know the words?
Oh. Can we do it from here? You want to try? Where it began, I can't begin to know when, but then I know it's growing strong. What 'twas in the spring, and spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Ready? It's a good part. Sweet Caroline, bum, bum. Times never seem so good. I've been inclined, bum, 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 believe they never would. Look at the night, and it don't seem so lonely. We fill it up with only two. And when I hurtin' runs off my shoulders. How can I hurt when holding you? Warm, touching warm, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Big finish. Sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Good times never seem so good. I've been inclined, bum, 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 to believe they never would. Sounds so great through the laptop.
And Gillian, you should tell everybody they have live music.
Oh yeah, Caroline. Good times never seem so good. Sweet Caroline, I believe they never could. Sweet Caroline, never seemed so good. I've been inclined to believe they never will. Thank you for singing with me.
You should have given us something easier to say.
Oh, it's easy. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what you sing or how you sing. It's just good for you and it feels good and it's happy. Why not? So,
Thank you for not making us stand up to do it.
oh, never make anybody stand up. I don't think you should make people stand up. But so I have a lot of other things I could say, but I'd love to know what you guys want to know and how I could, what else I can say. So, do you have any questions, interests? You were talking about, Laura, you were talking about having, we do have a live band at Sunday Assembly. We don't use karaoke.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot more fun.
Here, you will like to say something.
Oh, they have a live band at Sunday Assembly because we have gone a number of times, and it's a lot of fun singing.
Anyone else have questions or comments?
Yeah, I want to capitalize in this word supernatural. I propose another phrase, natural nature. Mm-hmm. And nature is it sounds redundant, but nature is a noun and natural in that case is an adjective. So when you say natural nature, it can be very strong. Mm-hmm. A nuclear bomb. And then we can go outwards, horizontal from there, not up, because that's the most powerful, but we can go down and horizontal with every non-understanding thing is still natural nature. Mm. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi, Gillian.
Hi, Mark.
As a regular attendee for years now of both humanist forums and Sunday assemblies, I've noticed they have a lot in common. That is, both have great speakers, both have a foundation in science and reason, and both have a great meeting place, even better now since each one moved. But I did notice a big difference, which is the demographic. I've noticed that Sunday Assembly gets people maybe averaging about 30,
Yeah.
whereas Humanist Forum is probably double that. And so what have you done to make that possible?
Well, I think we're trying, at least with my community organizer, we're trying to reach out to a younger demographic because we want to be inclusive of all ages, but I think getting families in is what we've been really working on. So we've been working at reaching out to the local school community, but letting parents, because parents at preschool age, that's kind of a time that you want to join a community like this, because you want to bring up other people together, like-minded people together, and work together. So I think that's great, but I don't want to lose any of the older demographic either. But it tends to crystallize around the age of the people organizing it too, to be fair. You know, if it's, we have one in Gainesville, I think, Sunday Assembly Gainesville, and the people organizing that are in their 70s. And so that's pretty much what the group is. So they do change, and they're all different. And that's the amazing thing about, I really want to do a documentary about Sunday Assembly, because there's one up in Halifax, which is just one guy with his 30 people. He's out there with his guitar, they're singing songs, they're meeting on Sundays, they're doing this thing. Then you go to Nashville, and there's a giant band. I mean, Nashville's crazy, it's huge, and they're fantastic, of course, because they're the music capital, right? Their music is amazing. And then you go to Los Angeles, and it's totally different. It's much more of an atheist assembly happening down there. London is huge, but it's London, and there's a lot of kids who've been up since the night before. They're going to Sunday assembly. So I think it can reach a lot of different ages, but I hope that we can bring that demographic into what we're all doing. But we are all meeting at 11 o'clock on Sundays, which is kind of a bummer. We're all meeting at the same time.
Except you're once a month and they're once a week.
That's right.
What's the structure of the discourse like? What topics do you discuss? Is there pop psychology? Who leads these? And how does it parse through the ceremony of the hour they're there?
Sure. It's loosely based on the Church of England service, because that's what Sanderson and Peppa knew. So we have a speaker and a reading and all that, but the host or MCs, there's usually 1 to 2, and it's not a pastor, but it's more of an MC, leading the whole thing together, summarizing it, wrapping the whole thing up. But we have a 20-minute talk by somebody, whether it's a head or a heart topic, so it can be an astrobiologist, or it can be somebody talking more about mothers and how we feel about our mothers, and we try and vary the topics quite a bit. And then we don't have a Q&A session during the assembly, because in an hour we're just packed. We have 2 songs, boom, 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 the whole thing, until exactly at noon we're done. And then we have an area for a person to sell books, sign books, answer questions, all that. So that happens right after assembly.
Hi. I have a question. I've been a non-religious person for years, literally since I got out of high school. But at the same time, I wanted a community, so from time to time, for extended periods of time, I was a churchgoer. And for probably 6 years, I went to the Menlo Presbyterian Church in Menlo Park. And it's huge. It's huge. They have 6 services, or they used to anyway, when I was going, and they were packed. They were so packed that they had folding chairs going up the aisle to fill in for the people that otherwise would have to stand. And one of the things that I noticed about it, and actually other churches that I've gone to also, is that the ministers would talk kind of on a weekly basis as part of their sermons about the difficulties of living. And interestingly enough, that's one thing, humanists actually never talk about that, but I noticed that you mentioned that you talk about people's concerns and stuff like that. I'm actually wondering how you bring it into the community. Is it done through separate groups, or how do you do it?
Well, we talk about it in the regular, service as well, depending on what the theme is. We theme it around something every month. So it's good to bring in your personal experience and to hear what's going on in the community, so we know that. We know the struggles that people are having, whether they're aging parents, caregivers, or just, a daily struggle. That's why we have a compassionate listening group, and that was developed by a couple of our members. We also have a group which is called a Live Better group, and that's like an 8-week peer group where you get to talk about things that matter to you and resolves things you might like to improve. So we can't really do everything in the big 75, 80 people assembly, so we do need these little small groups. And those, it's difficult in a voluntary organization to keep those going because you need people to run the group, and if they fall out, then your group falls off. So not surprisingly, beer tasting has been a pretty constant group, but the compassionate listening group as well has been strong. And then these little 8-week Live Better groups are good too. So I think it's just a question of being there, listening to people. I find myself in a kind of a lay pastor situation and spending a lot of time in coffees with people that need help. And I guess it's just trying to listen where we can.
Could you mention the bit in the service about doing your best?
Yeah. So I think, forgive me because I don't know churches very well, I think it's kind of like a testimonial, a testification when somebody's talking about what they're trying to do and how they're improving themselves. So we have about 5 minutes where somebody in our community says, this is how I'm doing my best. This is the struggle I am facing and this is the way I'm dealing with it. So we had a member of the community who had a parent try to commit suicide, and he talked about how he had been through this incident with the parent, but then also being able to go through some really good courses here and bring himself to the place that he felt he could come up and tell our group about how he got through that. We have another person who was incredibly shy, but now she got to the point that she could get up and do her best and talk about how she'd overcome that shyness and got herself right up to do 3 minutes in front of the group. So they really vary, but it's very nice because it's that personal part.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I went to the first one down here. In fact, we met up in when he first came out. We met him at a coffee shop. Maybe part of the reason for the difference in the ages is because how active you are. I mean, how many times during this time that you're together do you stand up and sit down? It seemed like a great many to me. And there was a lot of activity, like jumping on and off the stage, and a lot of, I don't know whether that's still the way it is, because it's been years since I went.
No, I would say that we've actually looked at that. We have an annual conference every year, and one of the big points was we were talking about disability at the conference and ways of making the thing approachable for everybody. And whereas we used to say stand up, we usually just say do what feels right to you, because you don't want to pressure somebody to stand who can't stand, or if it's difficult for them to stand. And also, you don't always want to have to stand for every song. Some songs are more sitting kind of songs. Sanderson is kind of a effusive Muppet kind of guy, but even he doesn't jump around so much. He's actually coming out to host our November assembly if you want to get a taste of him. He'll be here November 12th. So.
Do you have a board?
We do. We have a board. Right now we only have 5 people on our board, so we're always looking for more board members and way to develop it. And one of our big things is, we're trying to find funding. We applied for a lot of grants. We spent a lot of time looking for grants, and we got turned down on all of them for being a religious organization. So it's difficult. How do we paint this, and what do we call it? I never even know on a form how to check us off. I don't know if you guys have the same thing as a humanist community.
Why be a religious organization?
We're not.
Oh,
no, but you can't first of all, it's called Sunday Assembly. So, I've talked to somebody for 20 minutes, and after they say, oh, you're not born again. I said, no. Then another 20 minutes later, they say, oh, I thought you were pro-life. No. It's like,
why don't you write it on the bottom? A non-religious organization.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Yeah, it's difficult. It's even difficult to know what words to use. We began. So interestingly, we started out by calling it a godless community, because in England it seemed fine. But here, especially in Atlanta, it was a big problem to be a godless community. And we had people in our community who were dealing with divorces, and they were being brought up on custody. And it was saying, well, he belongs to a godless organization. So we had a big vote, and they changed it from godless to secular. So secular, yeah. So I don't know what exactly the right word is.
Non-religious is cool.
Non-religious?
Yeah, that's cool. It's not godless.
Although I think sometimes non-religious can mean a different non-denominational. Yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to know what to call it.
Arthur Jackson, a couple of things. The first one, just talking about the celebration thing of people. My girlfriend, who happens to be a practicing Catholic, was very offended. She comes with me once a month just to make contact, and just happened to come on my birthday. And it just blew her mind that was not acknowledged. And she hadn't gotten over it yet. But it's a measure of who we in this group are.
Yeah.
In which somehow recognizing each other at times that are important to us aren't important to us. So we ignore that whole dimension. And I think that sort of leads into a critical issue in our society, this whole thing about what is religion. Because most of us learned what religion was in a Sunday school class in which the person leading the class told her religion is about God, and particularly about Jesus and prayer and heaven, and that's what religion is. And most of us have not been psychoanalyzed and been able to work beyond what a Sunday school taught us when we were 8 years old and get on with religion is in fact what holds any society together. It's that connective bond.
Yeah.
And if humanists believe in connected, we want to be connected. We want to be part of things that are positive. We've got to get over that, the whole idea that religion means God.
Right.
Religion means so much more than God. And it was my fantasy that humanism would provide that so much more. But it's very difficult doing it, particularly working with people whose mindset is, well, if you say religion, that means God, and I don't like God, and so I don't like religion. And as a result, they're in that negative spiral that they go round and round until eventually they end up in, well, we won't go that far.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you can't seize the word religion just for God. We needed it. We've needed religion since we started crawling out of the slime, pretty much.
Thanks for the great talk. I wanted to compliment and hear Arthur's comments. You know, the real issue is, why are there religions? And it's, as you're talking about, it's the need for community, connecting, etc., people caring about each other. And some people do it through religion, other people do it through clubs, other people do it through organizations like this. So let's get to the core. It's not, religion is not the issue, being for or against it. It's how do we connect with people. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions on that topic over the years. It seems to many of us that there's no particular reason to use that word. It has certain meanings in society that we don't agree with, and to claim it seems counterproductive somehow. So some people consider humanism is a religion, and they like to call us a religion, and I believe we actually were incorporated as a religion, partly because of the tax benefits. But Oh, we also had people who wouldn't join us because we were religion. So there's that too. So it's a kind of complex issue, but I think it will eventually age out.
But I think we need to find a place that we can all come together and have these sort of rituals I'm talking about. I mean, where would everybody here go to for a funeral or a marriage or a... I mean, where do you go and what text do you use? Go ahead.
H.L. Mencken summed it up in 3 words. Religion is bunk.
Right, so much for 3 words.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. I've been coming to the humanist community meetings for, I guess, about the last 3 or 4 years, and I have learned a lot and grown quite a bit. But I feel the same loss that some of the others do, and possibly you would, from when I quit the Methodist Church in Los Gatos, and before that the Mormon Church. I miss the community and the genuine caring. Here, I can relate to many people, but I think that we ought to be acknowledging Arthur's birthday, for example. And I think that other birthdays should be acknowledged and important dates in people's lives. We do, in this community, tend to be rather isolated from one another to an extent, and I really grieve that is the case.
Well, it's certainly not just here in this community. It's in Silicon Valley as a whole. I mean, we really... Yeah.
Regarding birthdays, a lot of times it might be assumption the older you get, the less you want to be reminded of it.
So we in San Diego participated in the Sunday dates and 40 dates
40
and
days
40
and 40 nights. Yeah.
nights,
Yeah.
and it was dates instead of
right,
days. Okay. And it was quite amazing to me how many people in our secular community got up at the end of their first Sunday assembly and rushed to the corner to meet with Sanderson to talk about volunteering. Mm-hmm. It really met a need in our community that wasn't being met elsewhere. And I would like to brag that we had ours 2 days before you did. And but I don't know what we were, it was, okay, it had something to do with me. I set it up on a Saturday instead of a Sunday, which meant I had to tell everybody it's a Sunday assembly, but it's happening on Saturday, because the very first one we had was on Carl Sagan's birthday. And, I just want to remind everybody about your motto, the live better, help often, wonder more, because each one of your talks also relates specifically to the motto, and I think you have a brilliant motto. A couple things. I thought maybe you could address the differences between the United Kingdom in terms of religiosity and what's happening here in the United States, and how that plays into the fact that things like Atheist Church go really well in San Diego or Los Angeles, not so well in the Bible Belt, and why these issues about how religious or how not religious you are play out more in the United States than in the UK.
Sure. I think it's also an age thing as well about how you define yourself as religious or none or spiritual or whatever it is. But there's definitely a difference between the UK and the US. I mean, even Sunday Assembly is definitely seeing that it's much more important in the US to have it be a place for non-believers, whereas in England it is for everybody. And I mean, there's just fewer people in the UK that identify as being religious anymore. Like I said, with my family, I mean, that was a long time ago. It was generations ago that anybody ever felt that way. But here, changing godless to secular, that whole sweep, I would say it's even regional to the United States. Like San Diego and LA, they're able to be much more atheist than we are here. And their first recommendation to me looking for money was, go to your secular business network. And I said, what is that? Apparently they have business networks that identify themselves as that. And we don't have that. But do we need that here? I'm not sure. I think it's even different regionally in our state and it is in our country. But that's really hard doing an international organization like Sunday Assembly because everybody's got a different look on this. I mean, the great thing about it is so many people can get something out of it, and so many people are able to come in and do something with it. But, we can't, it's very difficult. If we did have a dogma, it would be difficult to say what it was, because there's so many people with so many different opinions. And definitely in the U.S., it's much more about a place for non-believers. And we're trying to be welcoming. We do have a lot of people at our assembly, for example, who one person is quite religious and the other person isn't, and the couple can come together. Because we don't do anything anti-theistic. I think that's an important point.
Do you see any relationships between your group and the Unitarian Church, other than the different hymns?
Ooh, what shall I say? Yeah, I don't. The music. I'm not so sure about the music in the Unitarians, but
Well, it's not pop songs.
yeah. It's. I think the Unitarians are welcoming of all religions, and I think at least when I've been to the Los Gatos Unitarians, there's the symbol of every religion up on the altar. Whereas we are welcoming to everybody, but we are not going to acknowledge any religion. Although I respect that you believe in something, that's not what we're going to talk about, and we're not going to talk about the fact that we don't believe in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, I've done another thing that...
Here, speaking to the mic.
I actually really love the singing because it does make me feel uplifted, it makes me feel happy, and it makes me feel connected.
Me too.
My father, a Methodist minister, described Unitarians, or Unitarianism, as a feather bed for falling Christians. And I think that's an important thing to note. If you look at the background of the people in this room right now, you'd have to throw in some fallen Jews and some other religious backgrounds. But when you grow up in a country that really has religion sort of built into the fabric, as has been true in this country, that is the language with which we communicate. And sometimes we get caught up in the language rather than the meaning of the language. And if it is a stumbling block, heck, change the words, I don't care. But at our core, I think we're all really looking for the same kind of thing, to be recognized and affirmed as human beings, and to relate to others who are in this same struggle with us.
Yeah.
And so go Sunday Assembly.
Thank you.
I'm reminded of the comment from the rabbi whose many members of his congregation left to join the Quakers. And he commented that some of his best Jews are friends.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we have occasionally had a group, like most recently we lost the one we had when we moved. The person who, as you said, you have to have the person who's doing it, and he only traveled this far a few times and gave up, so we haven't had it since. But it was certainly very popular, and I would like it if we do it again. It was called a check-in circle at one point, and I think he was more into psychology. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it certainly filled a need, and I'm sorry we don't have it. I want to say something else, but I don't remember what.
It's a common problem.
Is the Church of England still an official government agency, and
I think
having an official church, did that contribute to non-religiosity?
I don't know if I can speak to that. I mean, they are definitely government supported. It is still the Church of England. Do you know more about that, Debbie?
Yeah. When you have a country that gives money to an organization, that organization can continue to exist and financially be okay and thrive without making any changes to the way it operates. Here, we're in a marketplace. You have to do it better than the next person, which is why, and it also helps when you have a church on every corner. But now you look at the churches, and they have the live bands and the big video screens. That's for the mega churches. A lot of churches are suffering here, but the ones that seem to be thriving are providing a smorgasbord of opportunities that people want to pay for and invest in. So you've got childcare, you've got the Starbucks in the lobby. When you're the Church of England, you get money from the state for doing whatever you've done year after year after year. And this happens all throughout. I mean, some of the most progressive countries in Europe are in Scandinavia, and they all have government-funded churches. In Norway, they finally allowed humanists to get money. Like every taxpayer puts in money to the system, and then you get some back. And you could assign your money to go to humanism as an alternative. And in that country, they have the largest humanist organizations in the world.
Yeah, and they have that fantastic idea about the like a confirmation for the humanists. I've had people call me up and ask about that too. You know, for 13, 14-year-olds, a humanist equivalent of changing, coming of life ceremony, ethics. Sounds pretty interesting.
Well, at one level, this gets really to the core of the thing. If we look historically at nations, nations are religions. The religion is the nation. It is one thing. The United States of America broke that pattern, and it broke it for reasons, because all these people coming here were different religions. So how can you have peace? Separation of church and state. So they've started something totally different in the world, and that was a couple hundred years ago. So the whole thing is switched over those 200 years, but it brings out the point. Religion is the thing that has always brought a group of people together. I mean, take the Muslim religion. There was a bunch of warring tribes. They were interfighting. They were decimating each other. Muhammad comes along and says, I speak for Allah. Allah is important to us. We're all part of Allah. And all of a sudden, these 400 warring tribes become one warring tribe, and they went out and conquered the world. The only reason they didn't conquer Europe because they were barbarians at the time who wanted them.
At what we call a solstice, one thing we usually do is sing hymns, and we have an entire songbook of the traditional Christmas carols that have been cleaned up, secularized.
Oh, you rewrote the words?
Huh?
You rewrote the words?
Just a few of them. You don't have to change very many to make them not be Christian anymore. And of course, some of them never were, like Frosty or something. But anyway, I was just going to say I do that songbook, and I'd be glad to give you a copy. You might like
I'd love to look at it,
Sure.
We are doing, I should mention, we're doing a solstice on December 10th as well. We're doing one in Mountain View, which is with a live band, and it's a story of the arc of the sun. So it starts at sort of afternoon, and goes down dusk and darkness, and comes back up to the dawn. It's really a fun show.
Any other questions?
I would have to say that religion is not the only strongly bonding belief cement. If you see the incredible enthusiasm at any great sports event, These people follow their teams with a very religious fervor.
True. Any other questions?
Okay, let's give our speaker a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I hope you'll all come and see what we're up to. Thanks.